If you're looking to automate your publishing of API products into SwaggerHub portal, but you don't want to invest in consuming the raw API management endpoints, then let me draw your attention to a new convention-based project which I've put together to help you streamline your automation. So if you have a portal instance set up, then it's quite possible that the products that are being published are under the remit of different teams. So you want to be able to automate the process as seamlessly as possible. So what we have done is created a sample GitHub repository, which is conventions based, and it facilitates you storing your markdown files, your images that you want to be uploaded into the various projects. And it's very easy to get up and running and implement this for your own portal instance. So all you need to do is fork the repository, create the appropriate project or product folders following the conventions. So you will have a folder for every product that you want to publish. Within each product folder, you will store the various markdown files that store the content for the pages that will be within the product. You then have an images folder. At the root level of the images folder, you will put the product image. You have an embedded folder for images that you want to embed into particular markdown pages, a manifest file to control the order, and then you repeat this for every product. There's some conventions around how you need to do image link replacing and API reference link replacement within the markdown files, which is all explained. And the repository comes with 2 GitHub actions. For this all to work, you need to set up your secret with your SwaggerHub API key, a production environment, and some environment variables to store the subdomain as well as the org name. We then have 2 actions, one that can be wired up to PRs and commits, and the other that can actually be on commits into your main branch. So what I'm going to do now is fork the repository. So I'm going to create a new fork. And I'm going to put this within the SmartBear DevRel organization and wire it up for a portal that we have, which is called SmartBear Coin. So I'm going to call it SmartBear Coin Portal Automation is the name that I'm going to give it. So just going to update the name, and then I'm just going to copy the main branch. That's all I'm interested in. I'm going to create the fork. This will then create the fork for me. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to pull down all of this repo. So I'm going to clone the repo locally. So I'm going to jump over into Visual Studio Code. Just going to clone the Git repository, clone from GitHub, choose the repository that I've just set up via the fork, choose where in my file system I'm going to store this particular Git repository. This is now cloning. I'm going to open up the project in a new Visual Studio Code window. So now we have the structure of the project. I'm just going to create a branch and we're going to start making some changes to the content. So just going to call this SmartBear Coin Initial Automation. Going to create that branch. Then within the products folder, I'm just going to delete all of the products that are there as part of the boilerplate repository, which is wired up to kind of a test portal instance. So now they've been deleted, and I'm going to drag in 2 new product folders in my file system. So one is for a payees API and the other is for a simple credit score API product. So you can see within the payees API, I have a get starting markdown file and an overview of a markdown file. Then I have a manifest file, which is just storing some product metadata, so the description, the slug, then as well as content metadata, which will be the order and or the nesting of the different markdown pages. Something similar within the simple credit score product. So again, this is all following the conventions that have been laid out within the repository itself. And now I'm going to just showcase that, these APIs are in the relevant org that I have linked through the environment variable. So that's how we can pull them into our portal instance. So now I've forked the repo, I've created the product folder content. Now I need to set up some of the repository secrets and variables and environment that's needed by the actions. So firstly, I'll set up the SwaggerHub API key. So let me just duplicate this window so that I can quickly get back to the README. So I'm going to go into the settings of the repository. I'm going to create a new GitHub action secret. And it's going to be called SwaggerHub API key. Then going to go into SwaggerHub and I'm going to get the relevant API key. Now this needs to be for a user that has the appropriate permissions on the portal, so you can find out more about that in the portal documentation. And I'm going to paste in the API key, and I've just pasted it in and saved it. Now I'm going to set up the production environment, and I'm going to add in the other environment variables for the subdomain, as well as the GitHub org the SwaggerHub org that the APIs are going to be coming from, which is in this instance SmartBear API Hub. So that's all been done. I'm going to enable actions for the repo. So now everything is set up for me to be able to run actions. So now I'm ready to submit a PR into my main branch. So I'm going to commit the changes that we've made here, just using conventional commits syntax. I'm going to publish that to the right repository. I'm going to create a pull request, issue it into the main branch and hit create. And now some GitHub actions are going to go off and execute, and we can see that the spell check failed. So the spell check is a useful step in the workflow. So it's picked up some spelling errors in my Payees API overview markdown file. I'm going to jump in to see what these are, and I can see, oh yeah, I've had a typo in management. I'm going to fix that up, and there's an unknown word called omnichannel, which I actually want to be part of the markdown content. So I'm going to add this to the custom words text, and all of the instructions around the spell check and the custom words that will add kind of a special dictionary that will be known words is all explained in the repository. So I'm going to add in omnichannel, and going to save the markdown file and the custom words text. Going to merge this all back in and rerun the GitHub actions to see if everything passes, and then hopefully I'll be able to merge the PR. So hit commit, sync changes, and the spell check is running again against all of the markdown files in the products. That's passed. Validate manifest, so it's running JSON schema checks against the manifest file, that passes. Linting APIs, I actually have it disabled, but you can lint all of your APIs against your standardization rules in SwaggerHub as well, to ensure that any API that you're publishing into your portal instance is conforming with all of your governance and standardization rules. So now I've merged that in. So now we're running the actual GitHub action to publish this. So again, the same steps are there for spell check, validate manifests, and lint API. And we have an additional step here, which is publish, which will do all of the work of iterating through all of the product folders, uploading all of the images, doing the image replacements, and as well as the API reference link replacements that might be in your markdown files. And so here it's outputting all of the info. You can set different settings if you want to get more debug information. So it's iterating through all of that and publishing it to the API, and then publishing it live into my portal as well. So if I refresh on my portal here, I now have Payees API product and a simple credit scoring API product. I can drill into these. I can see the markdown pages that have been created, as well as the API reference implementation. So all looks good, same as the simple credit scoring one. So I have two markdown pages and I have the API reference. What if I want to add a new page here? So let's say I want to add a change log to the Payees API. So let's do that now. So we'll just create a new branch from main. So first pull down everything latest again after the PR has been merged. Create a new branch. Let's call it add changelog to Payees. And within the payees product folder, we'll add a changelog.markdown file, paste in some markdown content that I have ready here on the side. So again, a very simple changelog for the API version. Now I need to update the manifest. So I need to specify what order in the table of contents the changelog should appear. So I actually want this to appear at the very bottom of the sections and the table of contents for the product. So setting the order, setting the name, the slug, and then I'm going to point it to the actual markdown file that is relative to the manifest. So changelog.markdown, which sits in the same location. I'm going to then commit this in and then issue a PR back onto main. It's committing it, publishing my branch, create the PR into main. This is going to add a changelog. And all of the checks are going to run. Once they all pass, then the PR will be merged into main, and then this will trigger the action that is going to actually, again, validate that everything is correct and ultimately will publish the API. So now if I refresh, I should have the changelog page, which I do. So everything really, really easy from an automation perspective. All of the settings are controllable via the manifest. So I actually have the simple credit scoring as being a private product. So if I look at this in an incognito window, we'll actually see that I can see that it's here because I have it as visible, but it's private. So I can't drill into the documentation until I authenticate in the portal. So again, very, very easy if you want to adopt this convention-based project for your own SwaggerHub portal instance. All you have to do is follow the instructions to fork the repository, set it up, and then internally within your own teams, set up your own kind of PR process for the markdown content, as well as the images and or any of the API reference information to get into that repository. Then the actions will take care of it from there and will publish the content automatically into your SwaggerHub portal. So thanks very much. Happy automating.